What's up? Welcome back to Where Are All My Friends? This week we sit down with Steph Mirsky. Steph is a friend of mine who I met quite some time ago, but he did a ton of marketing and digital media for Vans Warped Tour. Now that's saying it short, he did quite a lot of other things, but the reason why I'm very excited about this episode is we do tell his story, but really we get into some very actionable pieces of advice and things that you can do as an artist if you're looking to promote your business. And if you are looking to get into the industry, a ton of advice on not only just marketing and digital media, but like how to use data, how to find what you want to do, finding the right career paths, trying a bunch of different things. Like this was such a fun episode because we really got into advice and actionable items. And I've been having a lot of fun trying to add that and do more of that and not just tell a story. So I think you're really going to like that. Another thing that we talked about on the episode that just has me thinking is we talked about doing like a live Q&A, like doing some kind of podcast where we sit down, given the guest whatever their expertise is, but we would get into some type of live stream on Instagram Live or Twitch, whatever, where you could ask questions. So if you're interested in that, please let me know because I want to do that. Overall, I think that says it. You know what I always ask? If you do like this episode, if you get value out of it, if you enjoy it, please share it with a friend, tell a friend about it, share it on social media, tag myself and Steph. I'm at Andrew_FTW. He is Steph.Mirsky, Mirsky. With that said, let's get into this episode. Where are all my friends? Here we are. Steph Mirsky. This is a cool one for me because we have been friends for some time. And I've had a couple guests on here where we know each other, kind of just met, whatever. And then I've had like some homies. And I love to have a homie because, I don't know, it's just fun. I feel like I always learn something new. And I love showing off my impressive friends and like being able to be like, hey, like, look, here's somebody with a cool story. So welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. This is going to be fun. I'm excited.
Legit. I'm very excited. I love that before we did this, we were out the other night on a weekend and you're like, when am I going to do the podcast? And I was like, I've been asking you. And I showed you the list of my people that I wanted. And you're like, you've literally never asked me. I was like, my bad. I definitely wrote your name on the list and forgot.
I feel like that was like a way nicer way to put it. I'm pretty sure I drunkenly yelled at you and was like, I need to be on your podcast, but I like your version better.
Well, because for me too, like I always I'm very honored when somebody's down to come on.
Yeah.
So I never want to like punish people and be like, please do it, please do it. So when somebody's like, yo, when am I going to do it? I'm like, oh my God, yeah, like let's go, let's do this. So you're here. It's awesome. What I like to do is for anybody listening that doesn't know who you are, just a very quick, like brief explanation of what you do and who you are.
Sure. So I'm Steph Mirsky. For the last 5 years, I was the digital marketer. I was just more than a digital marketer. I was the marketer and creative director for the Vans Warped Tour. And now that has winded down after 25 years, I am out on my own doing freelance digital marketing, festival marketing, creative direction, all that kind of stuff. It's fun.
I think that says it pretty well.
Yeah.
I know you're pretty humble with that stuff. So
thanks. I try.
I've seen all the things that you have done and what that means to do the marketing for Warped Tour and all of that. And I think it's very applicable to anything and it's huge. So it's really cool. And I'm really excited to hear more of the story.
Yeah.
So now take me back. Like I'm always curious to hear kind of like where people find that spark of like what gets them into their thing. So take me back to whatever those days are, like where you're from, kind of like the formative years, maybe finding that first hobby or whatever that is, whatever that looks like for you or like wherever that takes you to.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia and I went to a private prep school for high school and I didn't fit in really. And, I kind of found my space by going to shows. It was weird because one of the popular kids' boyfriends was not from our private prep school. And he was really into like Starting Line and Thursday and like all these emo bands. And so I somehow got invited to like his little show. He was playing at like a VFW hall with his band. And so it was total accident that I like fell into that world. Like I didn't discover that music.
What were you listening to before that?
straight hip hop. Like,
Really?
yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I was playing basketball and I would go and play like travel or like AAU was called. I don't know what those letters stood for, but now that I think about it, but it was travel sport, and we would go into the city to play our games and tournaments on the weekends, and so it was exposing me to a vastly different culture than
Yeah.
what I was growing up with, and so I really liked that kind of music, and I was drawn to it, so I was like all in hip hop, and my mom was mortified, and then
Not about it.
not about that life, and then I went all in emo, and she was also not about that life. So
So
you can't win.
funny.
But yeah, it was like a weird. I fell into it and fell in love with it, and kind of like going to shows became an escape, and listening to that music became an escape, and just went down like the MySpace rabbit hole because this was back in 2005.
Wow. Yeah.
And so yeah, it was like Paramore and Starting Line and Thrice and Thursday and My Chem, Fall Out Boy, all these bands, Panic! At the Disco, like all these bands, kind of gave me an escape and gave me like a reason to, I don't know, exist. It
Yeah.
was, I mean, not to sugarcoat what was a very dark time, but yeah, I mean, I felt like in school I had no motivation, I had no aspirations, none of it. But going to these shows, I made me realize early on, like, okay, if there's a concert here and I paid a ticket to come, that
Yeah.
means there's business, there's commerce, which means there's business, which means there's somebody running this show. Like there are entities here that are working together.
Were you thinking like that out the gate? Like even like at a younger age, you're like,
Yeah,
okay, I
yeah.
love this. There's people here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I knew I just wanted to be. I knew I couldn't play a musical instrument. I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna be singing. I wasn't gonna be in the band. And so I, felt a creative spark and I knew that I was smart, but I didn't have an outlet for it. And I didn't care about school. I wasn't like traditional book smart. So that kind of became what my like aspiration was. I was like, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to work in the music industry. And more importantly, like I found Warped Tour because as everybody does,
Oh.
at some point you
Yeah.
find Warped Tour, right?
Yeah.
I started out going to club shows and then all of a sudden was like, what's this show in the summer that has every band I like?
Yeah.
I was like, I need to go to this thing. And so it quickly became like, okay, my sole goal is, in high school it was clubs and I went to the Warped Tour like my senior year. And then when I got into college, it was like, all right, my sole goal is going to be work in the music industry.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So it clicked. Like
Yeah.
when it clicked, it clicked.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to me because I think a lot of people, it doesn't really matter the genre, and the genre is always changing,
Mhm.
right? But when you're in those teenage years and you find that there's music that isn't just music on the radio,
Yeah.
and like you find it's like, wait a minute, this is sick. These are lyrics and things that I actually care about.
Mhm.
And there's a community, and there's like, I don't want to say underground, but there's
Right.
like an actual alternative community
Right.
where you're like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
It's crazy.
Like finding that regardless what age, regardless like what that genre is, I think is so important. And when people talk about finding that, like, right?
Yeah.
It's just such a
Yeah,
thing.
you see like everyone kind of come alive,
Yeah.
And like for me it was that it didn't matter if you were like gay, straight, tall, white, whatever. Like none of that mattered at a show for 90 minutes or
You're right.
3 hours if you went from opener to closer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's to me what was so important. It was like you're all there, you're
Yep.
in the pit, you're singing along. That's all that matters for that time.
Yeah.
And you can all get along.
I remember that so well of like going to like some of my first shows in like mosh pits
Mhm.
and the idea of like these people will shove each other around, do whatever,
Yeah.
you'll fall down, but it wasn't an actual fight. And as soon as you fell down, you pick somebody up.
Yeah.
And I was
100%.
like, wait,
Yeah.
shit, like everybody's here for each other.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's so cool.
So that really clicked for you.
Yeah, it really clicked for me and it gave me motivation. I mean, I went
What
from
age
like
was that?
let's say it was like sophomore year of high school, so 16.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so like 16 to 18, it kind of gave me a way to stay motivated. Really like my sole motivation at the time was like go to college in New York or Boston, just like get out of the suburbs, get out of that area, just not be there anymore.
So it was not your vibe.
No.
What about it did you hate so much? Like, did you have a good relationship with your family or was it like,
I mean, both my parents are fantastic.
Yeah.
They did the best they could.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not. I had everything I wanted on the paper. I was like a spoiled white kid, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like boo-hoo. But underneath that, you had anxiety, depression. I was gay at the time before it was in vogue to be gay. It wasn't back during Stonewall era. It wasn't illegal for me to be gay, but it certainly was not accepted at all.
Yeah.
It was like maybe Sex in the City had opened some doors, but that was mostly gay men.
Yeah.
Being a lesbian was
Yeah.
and then that's just what was on the surface, and it wasn't until like a decade later that I even figured out that I was trans.
Yeah.
So like I kind of had musings in high school. Like I understood it. Well, it didn't.
It was not talked about.
But it wasn't a thing. I didn't even know
Yeah.
it existed. I literally
Right.
didn't know it existed until I was like 25 years old. Yeah.
So yeah,
it's
you're a
literal
teenager
decade.
and
Yeah.
you're just fucking confused.
Yeah.
And like you don't
Yeah.
have the discussions that are now.
You don't have the discussions. All you have is the ability to choose a male character on video games, right? Like that's your outlet. You're like, okay, if I'm playing video games with my brother, I can pick a male character, and it's not that out of the question because all the female characters are coded to be subpar characters, right? So it's like, okay, it's just merely a like tactical choice that I'm choosing a male character.
That is so fucked when you put it like that. Like your sense of belonging, the only thing you can do is choose the male character in a video game.
Yeah, that's it.
Holy.
That's what you got.
Wow.
You got that. Hold on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was so there was a lot, like again, I went to private prep school. I was well off. Thank God. Like it could have, my story could be very different if I didn't have those opportunities and privileges. But yeah, so then I got into Boston University. And there it was pretty much, man, dude, I remember my mom when she dropped me off. When she dropped me off, she had seen my tattoos. So like they saw my tattoos this summer going off to college. And I shit you not, I fell asleep in the back of the car on the drive up from Philadelphia to Boston. It's like 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
I woke up in the parking lot of Mass General Hospital because they had found a tattoo removal specialist, and they were like, we're going to get these removed. And I was like, yo, this is wild. Yeah. I was like, this is gnarly. So we go to the appointment, and they were like,
they actually did it?
Oh, no. They didn't get it. So the tattoo on my back has a lot of orange and yellows and blues in it. And the surgeon was like, the lasers don't pick that up because it's like a red. So any reds, yellows, oranges are really hard to get out. So they were like, it'll just kind of like deform the whole thing. So you really have to think if you want to like scar your child's body for this. And like, we were all just kind of like, I was like, I won. Yeah. Like it was just like, that's what it was.
Joke's on you. I chose these red, orange, and yellows.
Joke's on you. But then they dropped me off at VU. My darling mother was like, prove to us you're worth this, because Boston University is like the third most expensive university in the country.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, hold my beer. And I just became like a straight A student, like 3.85 GPA consistently.
Damn.
Like interned and did side like part-time jobs to have money, and like just crushed it in school.
So even though you were going through like a little bit of like a little bit, you were going through some emotional shit and like figuring out a lot of internal things, that didn't stop you from like being smart and like being able to do like the college side of things.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It was an unhealthy coping mechanism. Essentially what I did was like, well, I'm not going to feel any of these emotions, and I'm not going to deal with this stuff. I'm just going to work.
That's how we both joke. We're addicted to workaholic.
Yeah, I'm a workaholic.
Yeah, like when
100%.
we have shit going on, it's just like, let's just work a bunch.
Yeah, 100%.
So it was that.
It was that to the extreme. And again, thank God, because if I decided to go there and party, I probably would not be here today. Wow. Like if you roll the dice, let's say you iterate this 15 different ways, there's a story where it ends in addiction. There's a story, like I'm not the only person.
Right. So
like, it did end in an addiction to work.
Right. You just luckily found a productive addiction where other people could have found others.
Yes. So now like sitting here years after this happened, having gone to therapy, having talked to a mental health professional, I can look back and say like, it was an addiction. It was just a productive one.
Yeah,
It had a
yeah.
positive option on the other end, which was
That's
a
really
career,
wild.
you know.
It's wild to be so self-aware of that, right?
I try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel you. Like I think that I've definitely gone through that. I think a lot of people can relate to that,
Yeah.
right? Um, so you were really good in school. And you said as soon as you kind of found that scene, you're like,
Mhm.
okay, it's music. I'm gonna
Yeah.
find something in this. So what are those days like? Like, did you have a feeling of where you would end up in music? Did you ever have a desire to be an artist, or did you always know it was on the business side?
I
Like,
knew it was on the business because I couldn't play a musical instrument. Like I
okay,
didn't even play piano when I was a kid. Like it
yeah,
was like can't sing, can't play any singular instrument, but
yeah,
I have a brain that's pretty
yeah,
sharp. So I'll just use that to my advantage. And it was, I mean, besides, I went to business school, so that gave me a foundation no matter where I went, whether I went in music or not.
yep,
But I mean, every day it was pretty laser focused on like Warped Tour and the scene, the air
yeah,
quotes, the scene. And I mean, I would sit there and when I had free moments, because like I said, I was a good student, so I was working my ass off trying to do that. But when I had free time, I would literally make an Excel spreadsheet. I would go through Facebook at the time because now we had switched. We
yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
MySpace, but
yeah.
now we'd all switched to Facebook. I would literally go to the about section of band pages. You can still do it to this day. I would go to the about section and I would write down the manager, the agent, the publicist, and every contact that band listed. Because when every band sets up their Facebook page, nobody realizes that information is public. So everyone goes and types that in.
You know what I do? This is still advice that I give.
Yeah.
When artists ask me, they're like, "Oh, like we're interested in this agent, this
Yeah.
label, this anything," or they don't know who to go with.
Right.
The advice that I give, because it's still there for
Yeah.
some,
For some.
like I'm always just like, go find your top 10 bands
Yeah.
or artists that you associate with and look who works with them.
Yeah.
And you're going to find a pattern
100%.
and then reach out to the people that you
100%.
find the most.
Yeah.
So the fact that you just had
Yeah.
that,
That's
damn.
literally what I did. So I would make like 100 rows worth of data of people to reach out to for internships. And I would just cold email these people. Yeah. Took forever.
Wow.
Yeah. Took forever.
Did it work?
It worked. I got my first one was Mark. So obviously had to start with Boston.
Right.
Because I was there. So the first one was Mark Cates, who was Fenway Recordings, but at the time was MGMT's manager.
Yeah.
So I somehow lucked into that internship.
Cool. And MGMT was probably ripping at that
they
time.
were ripping.
Huh?
It was when they were huge.
Yeah.
And he had a fantastic day-to-day manager. Gosh, I'm going to space on her name, but she was wonderful. And she really took me under her wing and gave me free reign to do stuff. And because I was a business kid, they gave me all the business kid stuff. They were like, itemize these invoices. Here's a bunch of receipts. Code these receipts. Code this, credit card charge.
Question.
Yeah.
Did you have an oh shit moment there, or have you always been the Steph that I know where you're just like, cool?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no.
So that's always been you've had that. You've
I had
that
one
knack for numbers and organization.
Correct. Because I went to business school. So I not only could do the basic stuff, I could do really, I was like, we could do regression analysis on if we wanted to, but it's not going to tell you anything.
Well, no, that's important to talk about though, because I think a lot of people that I have talked to, even Josh Terry, who I was talking to last, he originally went to school for journalism.
Right.
He was thinking that he'd go into some type of writing and then moved it.
Yeah.
So just because you have a specific major, go to school, a lot of times people end up hating it. So the fact that you had your thing, and not only did you go, you learned it and applied it, and it clicked. That's actually important. That's
super important. But also at the same time, I went to my concentration, although it was business school, I went for finance and pre-law.
Okay.
Those are my concentrations.
Did you think that you might do something with law?
No, it was just, God forbid this fails.
Okay.
Those are the best options to fall back on.
Got it.
But I mean, but anyway, I ended up in marketing because at the time, marketing became a very data heavy.
Got it.
Okay, so we'll get into that.
You're at the company
right.
with MGMT.
Yeah, so I did that.
They're giving you receipts and things, and you're just like, yeah, let's go.
This is easy. Got it. Done. Then I did a whole e-commerce analysis for them because that was right when e-commerce was starting.
Yeah.
So I was figuring out when they were printing all their cost of goods and all that. I did a whole analysis hey, you're printing your lower earning artists on the same quality blanks as your higher earning artists. but you can't charge as much, so your margin is smaller, right? So like it's like here's ways you can improve, right? Here's cheaper blanks, cheaper this, or whatever, or just have a smaller profit margin. That's up to you, as a manager. So that was my first one, and then Boston University had a Los Angeles program. They call it's part of their abroad program. It's like not really abroad. It's domestic abroad, but it's the same concept. You go to a foreign city. In this case, it was a domestic, but LA seems pretty foreign relative.
3-hour time difference. That's something.
It's pretty different. So you take classes at night at this like satellite program offices, like a campus they have. It's not like a campus. It's like a couple of rooms in a office building, and you intern during the day. And I got an internship at Hopeless Records with Eric Tobin, who became a great friend and mentor. Yeah. And then I also had an internship at EMI. Okay. So for Hopeless, it was like sales and business development, and for EMI, it was finance. Okay. Again, these were the lowest barriers to entry. So everyone wants the A&R internships, everyone wants marketing internships, everyone wants PR internships. Yeah. So I said, instead of going after everybody else, I'm just going to get my foot in the door. Oh, Nobody wants the accounting internships. Yeah. Nobody wants the sales and business development internships. That's so smart. I had zero competition.
Yeah. So you actually you were about your business. You had a bit of a strategy there.
Yeah. 100%. And those were kind of wild. Like EMI was crazy because I was there when they, essentially like announced that they defaulted on like 3.2 billion pounds of debt. And that's when they kind of got disseminated and then bought by Universal. That was that whole transition. Okay. But I was there when the official announcements came out, and I was in their accounting department. Yeah. So I quickly had to do stuff that was above intern level because it was like all hands on deck. So they would just give me like rows, like reports that were just lines and lines of data of like bad debt.
Oh no.
Which bad debt is essentially like, okay, this record store hasn't paid us. Yeah. Right. It's because that whole time, 2012, it's like 2011, the whole industry was imploding. Right? Yeah. That's when it kind of bottomed out. If you look back at like SoundScan, Billboard data, 11, 12, it just like bottomed out.
Well, yeah, because you have digital coming in and you also have an actual recession.
Right. So we had an actual recession. We had physical in rapid decline. Not only that, but then you had digital purchasing in rapid decline, but people had not started paying for streaming accounts.
That's right.
So your increase in streaming, free streaming, was not enough to offset the decrease of physical and digital purchasing.
Did you have an inkling of like, maybe this isn't the best thing to do right now? Like, did that scare you?
I was too young and hungry at the time.
I had that too.
Did scare me. So at Hopeless, I ended up taking a full-time job with Hopeless. Yeah. And then during that time, essentially every article was like, music industry is destroyed. Record labels are going to not be relevant in 5 years. So what that caused me to jump ship from Hopeless pretty quickly. Okay. Because I was just like terrified that I was like, I don't want to be at a record label when the bottom falls out. Yeah. Right. So I was like, but the bottom never really fell out.
It's funny.
They all managed to survive.
It's funny. Like I really think about that. Like, that was a real recession. Yeah. But I think we're pretty similar in age and like our path of when we were doing things. And it's like, I don't want to say I didn't feel it. Yeah. But I think being that young and like you were just excited where it was like, yeah, cool. Like I get it, but there's not anything else I'm going to do. Like I'm going 100%. So like maybe there were things that were harder if we had known what it was like 10 years ago. Right. But
we didn't know what it was like. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of just like it was necessity.
Yeah.
It's
funny.
It
was just necessity.
It's cool to hear that from you actually.
Yeah.
So you make it out west. You did take the full-time job at Hopeless.
Did take the full-time job at Hopeless. Jump ship just because I was like, I don't know. Like every article and industry trade that I should be trusting is saying that labels are just, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Okay. Labels are just fucked.
Hell yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't want to be fucked. I just got here. Yeah. And then everything was like, the only place bands are making money is touring. So I was like, well, I'll just go to an agency then. So actually, that was like my freak. And I just was like, all right, here we go.
Shouts to you for that though, because like you're very observant in that, right? Like it really does seem like a theme that I didn't even think about in your career is it was pretty strategic. Yeah. You knew you wanted to be in music. But every step of this, you were very aware of what was happening in the climates and like.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people that I'm not going to say I'm successful, but I think most very successful people that even I look up to, like we'll get into it later, but with Warped Tour, like even Kevin, he looks at environmental factors, not like literal environment. Yeah, I mean sometimes literal environment with bad weather, but like the ecosystem that exists around us, right? Of like what's happening on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And because it ultimately will trickle down to you. Yeah. You may not feel it, right? We didn't feel the recession because we were just broke just out of college.
It doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter.
You're not going to get any more broke.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But like understanding and reading industry trades and trying to see where things are swinging can at least help you say a step or two ahead.
I mean, I admire that. And I think that's a cool thing to take away from this episode because I think that a lot of my pivots were more emotional. And I admire that a lot. Yeah. I admire that you had that.
Oh, there were plenty of emotions behind all of it, but I tried to make some. I mean, looking back, right? You know, I leaving Hopeless to go to APA ultimately got me to Warped Tour because it got me on touring side. But at the time, APA was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced.
You say that was the first gray hair you ever got.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the first gray hair I got, I was like 16. But this is the first patch, like visible patch of gray hair I ever got was APA.
I legitimately think about that. Like people will be like, stress physically affected me.
Oh, yeah.
Like that is
your
real
hair is
thing.
Silver because you chose to. My hair is silver because of extreme stress.
We're laughing about it, but that's so fucked up.
That's fine.
So you go to APA and like, what is that? Is it just an instant change from working at a label to that?
It was an instant change. I almost a weekend called Hopeless and asked if I could come back.
Fuck, really?
Didn't make the phone call. We'll call it everything happens for a reason. Didn't make the phone call, and then like the next day I got word that they like hired a replacement for me. So I was like, shit, I'm here.
Right,
this is it.
Yeah. And what was your position at APA?
So I was a tour marketing coordinator for a year.
What's that mean in English?
So yeah, essentially when a band at that level, at an agency level goes on tour, the agency side marketer coordinates working with the local promoters to make sure let's say there's 30 shows, all 30 shows have the same artwork, same ticket header, that they all go on sale at the same time, that you've worked out, like when an agent does a show, I don't know, a deal memo, there's a line item for a marketing budget that both sides have the same number.
Yeah.
And what is the local promoter going to do with that money?
Yeah. That's actually like, that's a very valuable thing to have for somebody that cares.
Yeah. It's a little tricky. I say now sometimes like the agency marketers don't do real marketing. You're just kind of like checking boxes.
Well,
but it's hard because at that volume, the volume of clients and the amount you have to get done, you have to be able to lean on like the Live Nations and AEGs.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, I don't know. I know now what it's like to coordinate those details.
Sure.
You know, like you put together a tour, big or small. You do have art. You have all these marketing assets. You have promoters that'll make the most ridiculous MS Paint flyers on their own. Like there are so many factors that you don't think about, but if you have somebody in that position that keeps things cohesive and keeps that going, I completely get that. And that's a very cool, well, I don't know if it's a cool role. It's an important role.
It's an important
role. Probably
it's
learn
an undervalued role. It's an important role and it's an undervalued role.
Yes.
And it is great for marketers that are more, I forget the right brain, more analytical. That don't really want to do like super creative things or don't really want to. Yeah.
It's not the systematic.
It's systematic.
Yeah.
And you have to burn and churn. Like holy shit, like Allie McGregor at CAA, Stephanie Myers at WME, like some of these women are just in the grind and they just burn and churn through tours. And like, I know that that's not the kind of marketer I am. Like I loved Warped Tour because it was one thing. Yeah. And yes, I did everything within that one thing.
But you know the brand, you know the mantra, you know like you
can
know
live
what
it, breathe
it,
you can build it, you can change it, you can shape it.
Yeah.
When you have to burn and churn to that volume, you couldn't do what I did for Warped Tour.
It becomes a little
it would be impossible.
There's not as much of a spirit to it. It becomes more just checkbox.
It becomes more like knock it out and make sure your client is serviced properly.
Yeah.
Not like reinvent the wheel.
Right. Good way to put it.
Different type of marketing.
So how long do you stay at APA?
I think I was there 18 months.
Okay.
I was 1 year as a coordinator. I had 2 people ahead of me. There was a lot of flip over in those 2 people.
Yeah.
And the flip over happened so sequentially that the APA team was like, well, screw it. We'll just give this coordinator, like, instead of just bringing in another outside hire, this person's now been through 4 people above them. Let's just give it to them.
You're pretty familiar.
Yeah, they know what's happening. So I took that plunge and then got very torn between servicing the higher level clients that our agency had, which were like, I did like a Boston and Journey tour. I did like Air Supply. That's like an 80s soft rock band.
Yeah.
But those are artists that are worth thousands of dollars in ticket sales. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars in ticket sales, hundreds of thousands of dollars in ticket sales.
Those are like the bands that your parents like put on the calendar 4 months ahead of time, drop everything, and like it's a holiday. It's practically a holiday for those fans when they go to those shows.
It was a lot of like amphitheater shows and a lot of like casino runs.
Yeah.
Like soft ticket casino runs.
Yeah.
So I was doing that. And then to try and like feed my soul a little bit, that agency did have like Warped Tour agents in it, So it had like Andrew Ellis, who has like, Bayside and Manchester Orchestra and like artists like that, Say Anything, I think. Yeah. And then it had like Jason Parent and Blashnitz and someone, those are all New York guys, but a few out in LA.
Yeah.
So I would take those on as like a passion project.
Yeah.
But those almost at times can require more servicing than the big guys.
Right.
The big guys have, massive Live Nation national tour marketing behind them.
Yeah.
And these smaller tours, it's like $1,500 ad budget and you're trying to do everything you can.
You have to get more DIY, you have to get more creative.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just different kind of marketing. But it was gnarly and it was super corporate, which I wasn't ready for in music. And it was high volume, high stress,
You said a term that I don't know if everybody listening would know, and I think that you're qualified, but explain a hard ticket and a soft ticket real fast.
Okay.
I think that's actually a cool little thing.
A hard ticket. So a hard ticket is essentially you go on tour, your band, you go on tour, you're a headliner, you are worth theoretically the tickets that have sold.
Yeah.
Right. So if you go into the Roxy and you sell 400 some tickets, that was a hard ticket. That lineup, whether it was one headliner and one opener or one headliner and 3 openers, together had to be worth the $25 tickets that were sold, and you sold 400 of them.
There's no outside factor.
No outside factor. That is it. A soft ticket is something, so a festival can be a soft ticket because theoretically the festival brand has some amount of equity and ticket sale capability.
Yeah.
Casinos, because casinos give away so many tickets to like high rollers and I don't know.
Their VIP
Their
programs,
VIP
whatever,
and whatever. They just give them away. That's a soft ticket. Like county fairs are a soft ticket. Sometimes depends on the deal structure.
Yeah.
But
colleges would fall into that maybe? Maybe.
Yes and no. Depends on how the college, depends on the show is set up. Sometimes colleges do charge the students. Sometimes it's just anyone with a student ID gets in.
Yeah.
So
cool. Nice. I felt like that'd be a fun one. I like it when like my qualified friends can like explain those things.
It's essentially like anything that's not your band is in a club or amphitheater show that you have to sell those tickets. You have to be worth that room.
Yeah. Sick. Okay, so APA, 18 months there.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Knew I wanted to work for Warped Tour since the beginning, like we said back in high school. Like Warped Tour, the scene. Felt like I did the label thing, and that really wasn't changing because we were only until 2014 at this point. So it was still kind of like, what's happening with streaming? What's going on? And I was like, all right, I'm either gonna work for the Warped Tour or I'm out of the industry. Like that's like I'm gonna figure this out and work for the thing that I love, or I'm just gonna bail and go have a normal like business job because I'm not gonna have gray hair, shitty pay, and get yelled at every day. For this, like for not something that I care about.
So the fact that it was like so stressful and so much was probably a good thing because it made you realize it faster.
Yeah, it made me realize it faster, and it made me realize that I'm not gonna put up with that shit in my life.
Yeah,
and I really empathize with the assistants that don't wake up and realize that they don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And unless you want to make agent. There are plenty of people that they want to make agent and that's it. And they're going to put up with it. And that's great. But for like some of the kids that are just kind of there and they like might want to do other things, it's like, yo, this isn't normal. Like, just letting you know, like you don't have to subject yourself to this.
I want more booking agents on the podcast because that is a side of the music industry that is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're not all, I mean, there are many, many agents that are very kind to their assistants and all of that. But the culture of an agency can be that
right.
way.
Well, because it's like, it's not the agent's fault. It's like how cutthroat every aspect is.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just so direct and it's so numbers and like it just, it's a very interesting side of music to me. And I think that the people that can navigate it and don't take it personally and that can just get it done are superstars.
Yeah.
And they can just rock it. Like the first person I think of is like Ryan Soroka, where he's
I love him.
funny and like doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But then he can just go business mode and like do those things.
But he did it on his own.
That's right.
Yeah.
But like it's such a, if you have the mind for it, I think well, I don't know because I'm not and I don't. But
and then it's like there's such a difference. Yeah. I think there's also such a difference between responsible agents and territorial agents. Which is like a whole other sidebar. So you should absolutely do a agent podcast. But like
agent podcast.
Yeah. Like territory agents, they're just dudes or girls, women, people that get a list that's like, hey, these 20 bands need to be routed through or like need shows in the Midwest area. And your territory is the Midwest. And literally all you do is just pick up the phone and call those promoters and try to slot them in.
Yep.
You're not, versus a responsible agent, it's more like career focused. It's like you got to worry about what size rooms you're going into. You have to give instructions to the territorial agents to get your shit booked. Yeah.
It's cool. But it's also, I love having you because you did experience that. And then in Warped Tour, like you actually have a ton of knowledge on that.
Yeah.
So it's cool. You have a ton of knowledge on it, but you also have enough knowledge and self-awareness where you're like, cool, that wasn't my path.
Yeah.
I know it. I understand it.
Yeah. I appreciate that I tried a lot of different things early on in my career.
That's actually really cool.
Because I have very varied knowledge buckets.
Right.
Call them.
Yeah. And you really do. Like certain people have tried things. Like I almost regret that where I've tried things, but I didn't get the full deep dive of like, I can't go quite as gritty as you on every different thing. You know, like I was a front of house for a couple of years on tour. And like
I could never do that.
Well, right. But if I'm talking to another front of house, the way that you can talk about certain things, I can be like, oh yeah, that Midas board. Or like, you know, I know a couple and I'm like, oh well, yeah, you want to, you know, noise gates here and you want to cut these frequencies. But like, could I really impress somebody or like, could I really front like I'm a front of house? Nah. So like, I respect that you did it really enough to know.
That's fair. Yeah.
So then you get to Warped Tour.
Then I get to Warped Tour. Yeah. So I was like, I'm in it or I'm out. And I was at a show when I knew I was going to leave. I was at a show. It was the House of Blues in LA or Hollywood before it got torn down.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. I missed that venue, man.
It was cool.
It was so good. And I was sitting talking to Brittany DeLava, who at the time was Dave Shapiro's like coordinator.
Okay.
And just all around amazing girl. And was looking to make a jump as well. And is now at AG. I don't want to get that wrong. AG Golden Voice. Yeah, she's like a national booker. But I was like telling her, I was like, yeah, man, like it's like Warped Tour or bust. And she was like, well, I have an inside tip that they might have a job coming down the pipeline. And so
what year is this?
This would have been 14.
14.
Fall of 14.
Okay. I want to paint a picture too, because I think that from what I can tell, the listeners on this podcast, like people come from all sorts of different genres and all that. And like Warped Tour, I don't know, just the picture of Warped Tour from, I want to say like 2008 through 2016 ripped.
Yeah, so I mean, I wish I had I could probably pull up if I had Dropbox on my phone, which I might, the historical ticket sales. But it ripped Warped Tour ripped from 5 to 12.
Yeah.
5 to 12.
Okay.
Was like
that was
gangbusters.
That was the rip. So yeah, for you to then get into it in 14, like just because like I want to emphasize to paint that picture of like that's important. And that has been like that was your formative years. That was the pinnacle festival. That was everything. So like
2005 to 2012, I would have been 14 to 21.
Right.
I think I did that math right. Something like that.
So like for
it's
anybody,
your formative years.
Yeah. Like, so it's like, that's the festival you grew up going to. It's the thing you idolize and it's at its peak.
Right.
So just for the sake of this being a timeless podcast, right? Like that was important, and getting the
Super
job
important.
at that time
Yeah.
represents so much. It
Yes.
doesn't matter what the festival is.
No.
It's just the festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of dropped them an email. Them being like Julie Grant, who is Kevin's head of operations.
Yep.
I knew her through mutual friends. We had met a few times, so I dropped her an email. They were like, "Oh yeah, we actually are interviewing. Come on in." So that was all through the fall. It was like November.
Yeah.
So I interviewed with them. Dude, I still remember that interview. Kate Truscott, who's the head of sponsorships,
Yeah.
and now a dear friend. If I'm
Yeah.
sidebarring too much, just
No,
let
no,
me
no.
know.
You're good. You're good.
One of the interview questions was, how do you take constructive criticism?
Yeah.
And I fucking said, I said, well, my father's Jewish and my mother's Roman Catholic, so quite well, because I've been criticized my entire life. And like the whole room, all of them, Julie, Allison, Kate, all just started cracking up. They were like, all right then.
They're just like, cool.
Like,
You
they're
win.
like, yeah, we get that. You're
That's
good.
that's amazing. I love that you shared that, detail.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. So anyway, I got the job. That's the short end of that.
Cool.
Got job.
And
check.
what was the job?
At the time, I sat in between it's a very small company. There was literally one person for each role. There was a marketer, operations person, two sponsorship women at the time, and then like one kind of super assistant, coordinator, whatever. So that was going to be me. Because like I took a step back to take a step forward. So I sat in between marketing and sponsorships because there were communication breakdowns, and because naturally those two things tend to intersect. A lot of sponsorship deals include marketing elements. So I was executing that, and I was sitting between the two. And then after the first summer, it became pretty apparent that I could just do that and all of marketing and like make improvements to marketing on a content. Mostly it was content. The content Warped Tour was producing at the time was not great. And it was finding better ways to integrate sponsors digitally. So, so like 16, 17, and then the final two Warped Tours.
And you know, it's funny, like, I think that the reason why, like, I have all of the respect in the world for Kevin Lyman, for Warped Tour. I think it's so important. I think that it gave so many people the foundation. It was like the real life college. And it's like,
it was the music industry college.
Right.
100%.
And it was such a, not DIY, but it was not the same as other festivals where you had to work. It was real work. And it wasn't this huge operation. It really came down to a few people. So the lessons that people learn in the tour, if they worked hard, like I think that those are universally applicable to everything. And like so crazy, and you don't quite learn the same. Like it's just such a gritty DIY way to learn, and I love that. So like you were saying that about like sponsorships and digital, and like that's so interesting to me. And I've seen you apply that so much now in what you do. So like take a second, like tell me about like, would I say a day in the life of that, or like what that really looked like in the thick of it of like, are you negotiating like with big brands like Monster and Vans? Are you setting up like, what's that look like?
So the sponsorship girls would do the negotiations. So essentially, I guess we could break it down into two verticals. If it's just marketing, so like just the marketing elements of Warped Tour, I had to control everything from the website, social media, content, artwork, video, what else? SMS, like text campaigns, email, which is like newsletter campaigns. Anything that involved those, I had to get it done. I didn't necessarily create it myself. I hired designers, I hired videographers, I hired a web developer. But I had to coordinate the information, facilitate it, set due dates, set budgets, execute all of that. So if you ever saw anything related to creative, or you went to our website or you looked at our socials, that was me. When it tied to sponsorships is when the girls would do the deal, I would get handed the deal points. I would scan through it and extract like, oh, look, everything as simple as a logo on the website, right? Okay, that's basic. Up to like custom content that had to be produced on site and posted on behalf of a sponsor. So we did a bunch of it. It started like the first couple trials were like Twix was a sponsor one year.
Yeah.
And it was that right Twix, left Twix thing.
That's right.
So we pit two bands against one another, and we had them run around the festival convincing kids to choose their right Twix or left Twix.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know, 45-minute shoot. And I had like a videographer and an on-screen talent, and we literally just ran around. And when it got wonky, I would have to like produce it. Like we'd have to fake it sometimes.
Right.
Like sometimes if we just had a day that was super hot and kids did not want to be involved, and
Yeah,
like,
your
"Get away
candy's
from
like
me."
melting all over your hands. You're like,
we
"All
would
right."
go run and grab like the sponsor kids, right? Like the kids in other booths that were like excited, and we would have to like produce the content.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we would get lucky and have kids that really wanted to be engaged,
Yeah.
which was perfect because we want it to be authentic.
Mhm.
But I have to be there and on the fly, and I have to make those kind of calls.
Yeah.
Stuff like a webcast, we did multiple
Yeah.
webcasts. I have to be involved in that.
Right.
Clearing the rights to every single person for all the bands that are gonna be on that webcast. So, gosh, I wasn't in the truck while they were live editing, but because I was in my production office, but I would have it up on my feed while I was doing my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I would tell them, I would say like, hey, like, don't shoot low and up on this one lead singer,
like
please.
you're overseeing and running a lot.
You're giving this poor singer some like
Some
fat
double chin
vibes.
angle.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
like let's all do ourselves another favor. Like I'd have to like live give them notes while it was going on.
Wild. So I have a question on that. So because I saw you in action in that, and it's almost hard to explain in a podcast. Like you say all those things and like, yeah, that's it. But seeing what that actually looks like is so much fucking work.
Yeah.
So like, what do you think in doing all of that and learning and mastering that? Like, what are some skills now that you think were the most valuable that you had in that?
The single most valuable skill me or anyone can have is organizing information.
Mm.
I live and die in Google spreadsheets. Like it's because there is so much that comes. You have 60 bands on this tour, each with different labels, different contacts, different photos, logos, different deals, who goes on what stages, can they be moved around on stages? All of that stuff has to be coordinated. So I think for me, it was like just being able to manage a massive scale of information.
Yeah.
And if you have young listeners, inbox management early on in your career is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Knowing how to manage Google Sheets and knowing how to track information and update grids and stuff like that is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And I always tell my interns, I'm like, this is how I do something. I will train you exactly how I do it. You can do it however you want, but if something slips through the cracks or it gets fucked up, then that's on you, because I taught you how to do it my way.
That's exactly what I was looking for, because like if anybody has an interest in what you do, I like the idea of something tangible that they can start mastering, right? And honestly, something is like you saying something like Google Sheets is cool because you don't really have to go further than that. Like there are so many YouTube videos and Googleable searches.
Yeah.
So it's almost just like find a task, find a way to challenge yourself to sort data and organize data and then just Google everything you can't figure out.
I mean, if you're a young band on tour right now, like your weekly wraps of ticket sales.
Yeah.
Or your historical ticket
Oh,
sales.
wow, yeah.
Like keep a grid.
Yeah.
And your grid should be the first tab or the first column should be the year.
Mhm.
Second column should be the date that the show happened, the city, the venue, who that venue contact was, how many tickets were sold, what the ticket price was, what the gross of the show was. Because and then go even further, how much merch did you sell? What was your per head of that show? And if you keep that over time, when you get to a bigger band or you need to start making calls, how much merch do we print? What markets are we playing? Well, you can see, we're doing a run of only New England shows. Those are our biggest shows.
Yeah.
So we need more merch. Oh, we're going to the Southeast. We don't need that much merch. We don't sell merch down there.
Yeah. I think to add to that, what I watch you do that is so impressive is it doesn't really matter the scale of things when you have data.
Yeah.
Right. And I will look at something and I'll be like, this is so big. This is so many people, whatever. And you'll kind of talk me off that ledge really big. Well, all right, what data do we have?
Yeah.
And then we'll do that. And we'll sit down, we'll make a sheet.
Yeah.
And then when you can start to look at numbers and when you have the tools, the basic understanding, like you were saying, to work in Google Sheets or Excel or whatever, and you learn to use that data and make it show you something that you're looking for.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot more confrontable and approachable.
Yeah.
And like what you're saying about like keeping all of that data as a touring band
Keep
or
your
as an
band
artist.
expenses.
Yeah.
Where are you hemorrhaging money?
It's really actually
Is it
not
actually gas, or did you all just go to frickin' Taco Bell
Exactly. Are you
18 times a
expensing
week.
every meal in
Yeah.
the band, whatever? And it's really not that hard too. I think that is a very easy thing to do of like literally start a Google sheet
Yeah.
and take those titles, right? Like so ticketing,
Mhm.
list them off again because I think that for anybody in an artist
Yeah.
position, like
It's like
experiment with
it's like
this. It's fun.
ticketing, merch,
Yep. So how many tickets you're
expenses.
selling?
How many tickets you're selling, what the price was.
Yep.
Because that will change as you grow as an artist.
Yep.
Merch,
Yeah. How much you're selling?
how much you're selling. And not
You can
only
do dollar
that,
per head off that.
per head. And then what were your top selling shirts? Was it a long sleeve? Was it a black t-shirt? It should be a black t-shirt. If it's not, I'm floored. Please call me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
or was it a jersey? Did you do really high priced jerseys, whatever it
Yeah.
is? Being able to log all of that
Yep.
and to use that in the future to project
Yeah.
is
Promoter contact.
promoter
I think
contact.
that's one.
That's a huge one.
I probably
What
could be
marketing
more.
did you do?
Yeah,
if any?
Yeah. How many dollars did you spend on
Yeah.
ads there? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but we can even small bands, if you buy Instagram, Facebook ads and it's $50 a show, whatever,
Yeah.
it could be a lot to a small band. It's not astronomical, but that might move the needle. Like you might actually move more tickets, even with this small $50 investment.
I remember an exercise that we did. It was so valuable and
Yeah.
simple. You were helping me with the version 3 tours. And I want to get into this. This is perfect. But we looked at deal memos,
Yeah.
different deal memos. And I think I like to talk about this because I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times I'll get artists that'll hit me up now that are on a completely DIY level. They don't necessarily work with a booking agent yet.
Right.
They're trying to figure out how to book shows and all that. So I think talking about deal memos in the
Yeah.
simplest form is important
Yeah.
too. So with the version 3 tour, it was a lot of artists that hadn't really been proven, like they hadn't proven their ticket sales. So we took a lot of deals that were door deals or very
Right.
like conservative splits. So what we looked at was we took all the deal memos and we looked at solid guarantees, like you're getting X dollars per show no
Right.
matter what.
Yep.
Certain shows had a back end that said
Yep.
if you sell X amount of tickets, 100 or more tickets in this room, whatever, if you gross this much money past whatever the expenses are,
Right.
you're going to get a percentage on the back
Right.
of bonus, basically.
Correct.
And certain were door deals where it
Yeah.
said,
You walk in there with $0 and
right,
however many tickets you
yeah,
sell.
if you sell 5 tickets, we're going to pay you a ticket, what, $10?
$10 probably. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll walk out of there with $10. You
Exactly.
sell 5 tickets. Yeah.
Right. So like what we did was we looked at all of that, and from there we were able to say, where does it make sense to put advertising dollars?
Correct.
Because with the solid guarantees that we knew we weren't going to hit back end,
Doesn't
like
matter.
just looking at the ticket
Yeah.
sales, it wasn't going to get there.
No.
All right, that's fine. Like it'll
Yeah.
be an okay show.
Just take your money and
Naturally,
run.
organically promote it as
Yeah.
much as you can. Take your money and go. There were certain shows, the LA show, by the time we were looking at it, already hit back end. We
Right.
already hit enough tickets. So for every dollar that we figured out that it cost us, how many dollars per ticket sale on Facebook ads?
Yeah,
we
let's say
figured?
it's like a $2 conversion
Yeah.
per ticket.
Yeah.
So let's say the ticket was $10. Whatever
Yeah.
the deal was, let's say if the ticket's $10 for every incremental ticket you sell, let's say
Yep.
you got $1,
Yeah.
right? Well, if it took us $2 to convert extra tickets, then there's no point to us doing any marketing because
Exactly.
you're only making $1 for every incremental it takes. But it took
Exactly.
me $2 in marketing to sell that ticket.
Yeah.
Versus if you're on a door deal and you make 0, now it's are we going to spend money on marketing to save a show just to get bodies in the room? Because then it's a philosophical question.
Right.
Now it's, do we have the money to spend?
Yep.
And are we doing that just to show good face to the promoter
Exactly.
and to make sure the room isn't empty?
Yep. Yeah.
Every scenario is different, and just throwing the same amount of money at every show may not be the best case for your band.
Right. But there are certain ones. So like we really did figure that out.
Right.
Where it was like we put an extra couple hundred, like honestly, it was like $100 a show. It wasn't much.
No.
But it paid off. That $100 made us
Mhm.
200.
Right.
And then there were more kids.
Right.
And that was more merch and
More
things
merch,
like that.
more everything.
So that was a very cool way on a very DIY level.
Yeah.
That we were able to do that.
And that scales all the way up to something like Warped Tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so Warped Tour, a lot of people don't know, it was a zero guarantee show. So we were a door deal. The entity that is Warped Tour was at a door deal with Live Nation. We paid the bands no matter what, but
Yeah.
our take was based on ticket sales.
Yeah.
So and sometimes it would change for non-Live Nation shows and independent promoters and stuff like that. But Kevin used to always say to me, make the big shows bigger. Don't try to save the shows that are shot.
Wow.
Because of the way that the deal was structured. So we made more money if we hit those back end numbers.
Yeah.
So instead of dumping more money into the shows that were shot, it made sense to play catch up on a show like Chicago or Wantagh, which is New York, or Philadelphia. You can make those, you can get 25,000 people there instead of trying to save the Phoenix show that's going to be 8,000 no matter what we do.
That's actually really cool that it's that scalable.
Yeah.
Right? Because like where we were turning $100 into $200, like why not turn 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 to 20,000? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. And do you feel that the basic skills that you learned, like it does scale like that? Like, is it any scarier for you to turn 10 to 20K?
No, it's not scarier for me because I don't.
It's not your money.
It's not my money. It's called OPM, other people's money. But no, I mean, I apply the same logic no matter how much I scale it.
Yeah.
Just because I have $20,000 or $100 doesn't mean I'm going to just spend the $20,000 suboptimally, right?
And I think that that's so important. It's like that's a fundamental skill that you can learn.
Right.
As an artist of any size, you can start playing around with it. You can find what is my you can do it with merch, online merch. You can do it with anything.
You can do it with music videos. I was just talking to someone yesterday. I was like, I said, if you have $10,000, if you're like a mid-sized band, whatever, you're on a label, you're a smaller band on a label, or you're a large independent band, and you have you somehow get a $10,000 video budget.
Yeah.
Well, content's pretty cheap nowadays. So instead of spending $10,000 on the video, spend $5,000 on the video and $5,000 marketing it.
Yeah.
Because the average kid can't tell the difference between a $10,000 video and a $5,000 video.
Right. But
if you have no reach,
$5K to reach people,
exactly,
you're doing something good.
If you make a $10,000 video but 2 people see it, you're better off having a $5,000 video that you spend $5,000 in hitting people with video views on Facebook or YouTube views or anything.
Yeah.
Just like targeting similar bands.
Here's a fun next question, because I honestly, like, I kind of challenge myself on this, and I play around with things, but I don't know. I think you know better than I do, so I'm happy to ask you. You're an artist with a 5K budget. You're an artist with an anything budget. Where are you paying attention to ads right now?
Well, first, it depends on the type of artist. Like the genre, the age of the fans, all that kind of stuff. So we'll use Water Parks as an example. Water Parks is a pop punk band. Average fan is probably 16 to 25. Majority female. So I'm going to go heavy on Snapchat, Twitter, and YouTube.
Okay.
Probably Instagram will get maybe a little too expensive. But a band like Knocked Loose that I also bought ads for is heavy male, 18 to 36. Mostly Midwest. Some coasts, but a lot of Midwest. So that's going to go Facebook to the max. And then YouTube as well. So it depends. You have to know like and anyone, think about it in your only daily life, right? I'm 30 years old. I barely use Snapchat.
Right.
I sure as shit don't use TikTok.
Right.
I understand it because I'm a marketer and I'd be a moron not to understand what it is.
It's pretty fun right now.
I've gotten on it because I have to learn it, but I don't use it in my own life. But I know if I'm working with let's say a young K-pop band came to me, wants to market. Well, I'm going to go heavy on TikTok. Because it's young kids. It's like, that's what you're marketing to.
So then the next question there is, you find your demographic, you have a feeling of your demographic. How do you start to learn ads? Like, is it just a lot of Googling?
Like, where do you Googling? And just trying.
Okay.
Like, when I first got in there, it was 70 some cents a click. And then I learned that I needed to optimize more, and you learn it like anything. But there's a lot of great resources on YouTube. Facebook has a program, Facebook and Instagram, because it's the same bucket. Has a program called Blueprint. That's basically e-learning courses.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
You can even take a test and get certified if you want. Twitter has a thing called Flight School.
Whoa.
You can, they provide you resources. They want you to succeed on their platform
want you
because
to spend
they want
money
you to
on
spend
their
money.
platform.
It's not like everyone thinks it's like this big mystery shrouded in a cloud, right? Or like, oh, the algorithm. It's like, no, the algorithm, you're never going to beat the algorithm. So it's fine. But it's just learning the tools and doing well enough,
Right. Well, and I love that you say that too, because like, oftentimes I think about it and I'm like, man, like I wish I was better at these ads and like all of this. And it's honestly, I'm just being lazy. Like
Sure.
I
I
think
mean,
the
I don't know how to use
real
logic. You're being non-lazy
right,
in other
but like,
avenues.
and that's to the exact point. Like, I had enough drive, passion, and interest to start a podcast where
Yeah.
I didn't know how to fucking open a DAW. I didn't know what a DAW was.
I still don't know what a DAW is.
Digital audio
Sure.
workspace.
Is it like a weird file type meant for Logic?
No. Like, it's just like, it's the thing that you record in. So
Oh,
like
okay.
GarageBand is a DAW, Logic is a DAW,
Okay.
Pro Tools.
Yeah,
I didn't know any of that,
Yeah.
right? And I probably butchered what that stands for.
I'm sure.
But it was enough where I was like, I'm passionate about a podcast, and this is a step that I have to learn.
Mhm.
I have to learn about a compressor. I have to learn about these things because that means that I get to the thing that I'm excited to do.
Yeah.
And deep down, my honesty is I'm not excited to do ads and to learn
Yeah.
marketing.
It's okay.
And it is okay. But I love hearing your side of it because you're so freaking good at it.
Yeah.
And you did take the time to learn it.
Yeah.
So I think that it's
I mean,
cool.
I was sort of into the deep end. Sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
But like, I wasn't, I mean, again, like when we talk about tour marketing, quote unquote, like wasn't real marketing, like I didn't learn to do ad buying when I was at the agency. It wasn't until I got to Warped Tour and I got handed the marketing budget.
Yeah.
And the marketing budget included ads that I was like, oh shit.
Whoa,
I mean,
yeah.
I got to teach myself real quick.
Yeah.
And then I had a chip on my shoulder to be better than the person before me.
Whoa.
And have better cost per clicks and better conversion rates.
Yeah.
And so it just,
Yeah.
fueled that fire.
I think the thing, like, I love all of that, and it's cool. Like, this is exactly why I started the podcast, is like everybody has their things that they're great at.
Yeah.
And it's okay not to be great at some things. And like where you have like every job that you took, every piece of your story led you to a position where you're good at this and where you were down to take the time to learn that and to go through the courses and to know Excel and to take the time to Google and say, this CPM is good right now. And like, I mean, for a listener, if you are interested, you can Google the average rates every year. And like all the information is there if you care to learn it.
Right.
And you're an example of somebody that cared to learn it.
Yeah. And for me, like when I talk with younger bands now, the number one thing I say is never give up control of your social media.
Whoa.
They all these bands now are hiring out social media people. It is the wrong move.
Really?
100%. Like
what
that's
a great thing to talk about.
To me, if you have a band, if you had 5 people focus on the same common goal.
Yeah.
Sit down as a band and figure out what you all want to do besides music, right? And always think like, and this is a whole nother podcast on like diversification of band income, diversification of band member income for the long time success or long time strategy of your own employment and your own financial standing.
Yeah.
But like if it was me and I had 5 people dedicated to the same goal, find the one that's inclined in content or marketing. Find the one that likes numbers.
Yeah.
And all of you take a job in that band. Take onus of something.
Yeah.
If you're the merch guy, if you're the merch person that's going to look at all the merch numbers, if you're the lead singer that also wants to know about booking, like I kind of look at like Soupy from the Wonder Years. The Wonder Years did a good job of that, where they all kind of took onus of a thing,
Well, actually, let me ask you a question though, because so much of what I've seen and like what I've been excited about with Anything version 3 is not bands anymore. It's solo artists who have learned to make their own music and kind of get stuck being the everything.
Right.
So tough. I don't know the answer to this, but like, I don't know, like, what do you think of that? Like somebody like a solo artist or somebody that's pursuing their own thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. At some point, everybody needs a manager.
Yeah.
But I think for solo artists, I mean, God, some of these solo artists are better marketers than me just because
it's insane.
It's innate inside of them.
Yeah.
I had to learn it. I wasn't naturally a creative person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think for them, shit, man, try to put a digital marketer, not on retainer because you don't have the money, but on like a commission standing.
Yeah.
Like if they can grow.
I guess if I'm thinking out loud with you just in the moment in the discussion, I would probably find the thing like, the way that you gravitated and understood ads better than I do, and the way that I took the time to learn an audio recording thing, like probably double down on your strength and master the thing that you're naturally gravitating toward, and then start looking for the people that it seems to click.
You're right. Look for your team that's going to surround
I
you.
found my Steph, right? Like when I really need help with ads, I know I can only go so far, and then I come to you and I'm like, yo, what do we have to do here?
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably a good way to do it too, right?
Yeah.
But I love what you say about social media, and I actually think you're quite right, where I think content got so good that you can't really game the system or look more legit than you are by just having like a great photo or video.
No.
It has to be authentic and it has to be consistent.
Yeah.
And the only way to be authentic and consistent is to be yourself and to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So,
No digital marketer can mimic your own voice.
Yeah.
Happen.
Yeah.
Some do it far worse. Some will try. I mean, we all try, and some will do it far worse than others.
Even for you, right? Like when you are hired to work with an artist,
Yeah.
you would be so much happier if that artist is putting out all of their own content, and then you're able to put fuel on that fire, and you're not having to start from scratch and guess what an artist would say.
Right.
When you have copy from an artist to promote a tour,
100%.
when it's in their own words and it's their own photos, you're so much happier.
Not only am I so much happier, it does better.
Yeah.
Like, because I A/B test ads,
Mhm.
which is A/B testing is putting two things and only changing one factor, to which does better.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, if it was like something I came up with versus if I modified, I pulled a bunch of different language from the band's Instagram or Facebook and changed things here or there, those ones are always going to perform better.
Really?
Yeah, because the fans can tell.
It just makes sense.
They're not dumb.
It seems so simple, right? Like we can take all this time and analyze it, and it's just like, well, at the end of the day, like, they follow you because they like you.
Also, only so many bands can be stoked to come on your tour.
Stoked to see you, Kansas City.
Stoked to see, it's like, what the fuck? Give me anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the more creative you can become with what feels like necessary evils, like everybody has to promote their shows. It's part of it.
Oh, yeah.
The more creative you can become, the more that will stand out, and the more you might game the algorithm or get past all of the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Another thing that I wanted to ask, because we're in such a good rip of just like actionable advice.
Just do 2-hour-long podcast.
I love this though, right? Like
just
this is
punish your listeners. Just punish them.
But no, it's good, right? Like I really think that if I wish I could have listened to this conversation and had someone as qualified as you when I was trying to figure this out. Like I listen to podcasts so I can learn this stuff. So like when I have I'm like, give me everything.
Yeah.
So another thing that I think is interesting that you did was when Warped Tour was in full rip, you hired so many content creators.
Yeah.
It's a very, very popular career right now to be a videographer, a photographer, a content creator. As a professional and as a company with money to hire someone for those roles, what do you look for? If somebody is in that role and they want to get a job, because I think that, again, this applies more Warped Tour or not.
Yeah.
What, as the company hiring, what are some things that you can do to deliver a product that would get you hired?
Yeah. Man. I mean, as it pertained to Warped Tour.
This is your vent sesh. Tell me the things you hate. Tell me the things that people should not do.
Well, I actually I hired, I call him Chris Sims, who's like Shawn Mendes. He did some stuff for Shawn Mendes. He did Don Broco. I just hired him for an esports thing like 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
And we were joking and I said, if you're a content creator and you want to be rehired, you want consistent rehires, take photos of the people that hired you.
Wow.
Everyone focuses on the job at hand.
Yeah.
But no one ever takes photos of like the production people.
Yeah.
But if you give us at the end photos of us, we are 100% going to hire you because we're just as guilty as everybody else that we want content for our own feeds.
Yeah.
Right. So like I kind of made that joke, but then I was like, it's actually really true. Well, but that's once you get hired. How to get hired.
Let's pause real quick and talk about that for a second. I think that there's another thing there of like, take the time to remember somebody's name, right? Like what you just explained is caring about people.
Right.
It's not, you're passionate enough about something where it's not just the surface level job. It's not saying you asked me for 10 photos of this, here's 10 photos.
Yeah.
You're saying you asked me for 10 photos of this, here's 11, here's some photos of y'all. I remembered your names. How's your day?
Right.
Human shit.
Yeah. And I think too, when you're young and on the come up, it's like under promise and over deliver. If I hire you for 10 photos, and maybe in my instructions, you hit everything I said, but maybe hey, look, I am the producer, I'm the hirer. I will give you as much instructions as I can, but I'm not a creative. So if you see something that I didn't get it and deliver it. And it's not, if you're young in your career, the 11th photo, the 20th photo, the marginal difference of time it took you to do that is still small enough that it behooves you to do that.
Yeah.
Now, when you're 10, 15 years deep, when you're, like a Thomas Falcone or El Macias or Watanabe or Eric Rojas or any of these guys, maybe it's not worth your time, right? Like maybe that marginal amount of time isn't going to make or break that relationship.
Yeah.
But when you're young and hungry, like, shit, man, do extra stuff. Like, go the extra mile. You did everything wide. Now do it vertical. So I had stuff for the Instagram story. I forgot to make that note for you, but you saw it and you were thinking. And like, I will value that tenfold, you know?
That's huge.
And someone from Live Nation and I were just talking. They were like, how do you find these creatives? They're like, your team on Warped Tour like a well-oiled machine, you know? And it's like, well, one, I found people that were good at what they did, that were hungry enough to even attempt Warped Tour. And then I gave them good instructions, but then trusted them to do their job, you know? But they only got that way because they earned my trust to do that. You know, I had some creatives that I had to handhold to get every fucking shot.
And they probably won't get the rehire.
No.
So
Never
go back to how do you get that job?
How do you get that job? Yeah, I think it's shooting your local shows. It's finding the people and talking to them. I shockingly rarely had people reach out to me to be a Warped Tour photographer.
Really?
Like ever. Like maybe 5 times a year. And those people I would try to hire.
Wow.
Even if it was just for their local show. Hey man, I don't have a lot of budget. I got $150 day rate. I can give it to you in cash. You're not past that $500 threshold where I have to process paperwork for you.
Yeah.
Fine. But it got you in the door, you know? A lot of kids, it would just be, I would see a lot of it came from like other bands' photographers. And that's small, like Ryan Watanabe, his first year out was just with one small band and went on to do massive things because he was kind. He was, he was kind. He worked hard. He delivered for his clients. And, you know, I hate to say it, but like he kept his mouth shut. You know, it's like out on the road, there's so many dynamics and so many personalities. You just kind of need that person that just get in there, get it done, and move on for you.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, it's tough because I'm sure a lot of kids are like, well, I shoot my local shows and I am doing this stuff. But it's like, well, did you send those videos or those photos to the band and the manager and the publicist and the social media person and the agent? Like, did you put them all on copy of one email that said, hey, here's the Dropbox from tonight's show?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I want to say probably not. I don't know. And I think a lot of people, you're going to have to get in that van and do that van tour when it's nothing, you know, and you're working for your per diem and that's about it. And it's going to be savage. I do this, the creative career path is one I very much am concerned about with Warped Tour going away.
Really?
Because it gave so many people. Warped Tour was actually a lot of times where it was the band's first time bringing a crew member on, an extra crew member, like a videographer.
Oh, yeah.
Because Warped Tour paid for the catering. We paid for their food. So a lot of kids were out there just working for a bus spot.
Right. And it was so glamorous to have a bus spot and catering and a laminate.
Yes.
That like you would do it.
You would do it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of kids got their start just working for a bus spot.
Yeah.
And they went on to do huge things.
Right.
I mean, I look at like Elliot. I don't think Elliot Ingham just worked for a bus spot. But when he came onto Warped Tour, he was very new and green.
Elliot's first, I think I met Elliot on his first US tour. He was out with Set It Off and Against the Current on a Glamour Kills tour in 2013, shooting on a Canon T2i. And he was the kid that had an edge up on video.
Right.
And I think he applied a lot of the things that you said. Like he kept his mouth shut. He worked really hard. He turned a quick product. Now he's Fall Out Boy's photographer.
Yeah, now he's Fall Out Boy's photographer.
Yeah.
You can't just be a photographer anymore.
Yeah.
You got to be able to do both.
Yeah.
It's got to be photo and graphics or photo and video, or you have to be well-rounded.
I think at least to start, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that answers it really well though, right?
Yeah.
Like you reading the room, finding what's needed and wanted, like asking people and then under promise, over deliver. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I appreciate you weighing in on that too, right? Because like that's my favorite part with the podcast of like somebody who's very professionally qualified to answer questions like this and all that. Because I certainly felt like getting into these things back in the day, I had no fucking idea.
Right, yeah.
So having anything is super valuable. I'm trying to think, did I miss anything? Like I really want to answer questions that you're very qualified to answer.
I know. I wish we had like live. You should do a live podcast one time.
That would
be wild.
That would be really fun.
Answer live questions.
That would be actually really fun to just take people and be like, yo, this person is X, you know, marketing, manager, agent. Let's do a live podcast. Yeah. They can answer questions in that field. Yeah. Damn, listeners, if you are listening and you got value out of this and you want that, specifically with Steph, because we don't live that far away, let us know. hit some ratings, hit some comments anywhere you can. We notice our social media. Let us know. That would actually be really fun.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Actually, I think that's a really good spot to leave it. Did I miss anything in your story? Is there anything like, well, I guess now, right? So Warped Tour ended.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, oh, is it coming back this? No,
shit,
let
man.
it be
Yeah,
what
let
it
it
is.
be, please.
It was a beautiful time.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful place in history. It gave a lot of people their starts. Kevin is very happy doing his thing.
Yeah.
Let it be.
He's teaching.
Yeah.
Let him teach. Let him go be partially retired, partially working. Let him do his thing.
But like at least where you're at now, because I
Yeah.
think that's a, you know, like you were kind of forced to pivot, right? It ended.
Yeah.
So what did you do when you had that dream job and the climate and the economy, the industry changed in that sense? What are you doing now? Because I know you're kind of applying those skills in a
Yeah.
great way.
Yeah. So, I mean, so now I'm going to start my own, I hate saying this, creative agency. Essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Where I will do it. So digital marketing, festival marketing, ad buying, creative content production, web development, all
Yeah.
that. All the skills I talked about,
Yeah.
everything I did for Warped Tour, I'm just now doing it for whomever needs it.
Whoever needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's cool. And like, I mean, we didn't really talk about merchandise, but you've helped a lot of the artists that I've worked with build web stores.
Yeah, I've done that.
I mean, you've really learned pretty much anything that deals with the internet, some kind of media and
Yeah.
some kind of marketing
Yeah.
to turn some money into more money. You figured out.
Yeah.
Which seems pretty valuable.
It's crazy. Yeah. Get on Shopify if you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you have any listeners like actually get into ad buying, the ad buying you can do in conjunction with Shopify is very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have great ways to look at data.
Right.
Simply too.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to figure that much out. They do a good job
Right.
just presenting it.
And they have nice plugins where it's like you can actually see how many sales your Facebook ads have generated and what revenue that translated. So you can say I spent $500 and I made $15,000, or I spent $50 in marketing and I made $2,500 in sales.
And they have the cool clicky thing with Instagram where you can click through and tap the product.
They
that
do
you
have
want.
that.
And what is like, where can people find you? Like if there is somebody listening that wants to find your services or work with you, or like what's the
Sure.
best way to find you?
Do I just read my email out?
I mean,
The company's called The Minority Co.
the Minority Co. Yeah, you probably have a submit form there. What's your Instagram? People DM you maybe or
Super
something?
original. My Instagram is Steph, a period, and Mirsky.
Crazy.
So my
Timeless.
first name, a period, and my last name.
Timeless. I
Yeah.
love it. Cool. I mean, I think that does great. Like I
Sick.
love this. I love what we covered. And if anybody is interested or wants to work with you or anything, wants the live pod Q&A rapid
Yeah.
fire, let us know, please. Like I always say this, but I read every comment, every review, every DM about what you did and didn't like on this podcast. Like I'm 100% obsessed with this. So
please don't give me scathing reviews.
Yeah.
I'm a nice person.
Hurt my feelings so bad. But no, like please, like if you liked this conversation and if you do want to hear more of it or anything, please DM myself or reach out in any way, whatever media you're on, to me and Steph, because it's cool to hear where we're helping and where we're just blabbering.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for doing this.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. So there you have it, Steph's story. I really hope you liked it. I really hope you got a lot of value out of it. If you did, like I always ask, the best thing you can do, the biggest favor that you can do for me is sharing it and telling your friends about it. The more I can grow the podcast, the more people I can talk to, the more cool stories, the more value, all that good stuff. You get it. So share it. Let people know. Also, let me know if you're into these ideas that we had about doing different formats of the podcast, doing kind of Q&As with people. I'm really into just doing whatever and making this as good as possible. So please give me your feedback. I want to hear from you. With that said, have a great week. I'll be back next week with another one.